just use for hydration like a moisturizer. They also fill in all those fine lines around your eyes, and they also add brightness. So your eyes, especially if they're tired, they instantly start looking brighter, more radiant, and more youthful. While that's settling in and getting absorbed, khaki. The reason I'm using a pomade today is, for one, it's waterproof and smudge proof, so it's long lasting, and second, it's very pigmented. I love using pomades on brides, especially if you have fine hair on your brows. And to double secure my brows and to keep it in shape, I'm going to be using the Laura Mercier Brow Gel. This is a clear brow gel, so it's not going to add any extra color to my brows. You don't have to do this if you're using a waterproof pomade, but this just gives that double protection. To clean up underneath my brows and as a base on my lids, I'm going to be using the Milani concealer in the shade 145. You can either use a concealer or an eyeshadow base. Primers on your lid not only help to cling on to the eyeshadow, giving you more pigment payoff, but they also make the eyeshadow long lasting. I personally like concealers because they cancel out the redness on the lids and even out the skin tone. I'm going to lightly set this with powder to prevent it from creasing. I'm using Airspun. You can use any powder, but try to use something that's mild without much perfumes or scents to it, because sometimes that can react with your eyes and your eyes can get watery. I'm using a sticky tape in the corners because I'm going for a pretty dramatic look today, and I'm leaving a small gap in my lower lash line, so when I do my lower lash line, there is continuity. I can join the eyeshadow from the lower lash line to my lid. To get great pigment payoff, you have to use really good quality eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to be using the Jaclyn Hill Morphe Volume 2. You don't have to use the same palette, but whatever palette you're using, make sure the quality is fabulous, especially on your big day. I'm going to dip into this beautiful crimson shade called Livin' My Best with the Sigma E40 blending brush. I'm going to blend this out at the crease, and I've just dipped it once, and you can see when I talk about quality and pigment payoff, that's what I'm talking about. It is so pigmented. And just keep in mind, anytime an eyeshadow is pigmented, it looks very messy in the beginning because you all of a sudden feel like there's so much color on your lids, but keep blending it out, and at the end, everything will be perfect and it'll look beautiful. To deepen the crease further, I'm dipping into a very deep crimson shade. This is called Crazy. With a smaller blending brush, I'm going to focus this right at the crease, and I'm not going to blend it out as much as I did with the first shade. Again, don't take too much eyeshadow at a time. Keep adding as much as you want till you're happy with the intensity. I decided I wanted to deepen the crease just a tad bit further, so I'm very lightly dipping into the black eyeshadow. This is called Temptress, with a very small pointy blending brush by Morphe, and I'm going to focus this right at the crease, and I'm not even going to be blending out too much. Now we have everything about the lid taken care of, so it's time to cut the crease. But before I cut the crease, I like to clean up the lid space and start with a clean canvas, and for that I'm using the micellar cleansing water with a Q-tip. I'm just going to dip it in and clean it up. If you don't have cleansing waters, you can also use just regular water. And then again, now I'm using the concealer to cut my crease and paint my lid with the same concealer. I'm using the Milani concealer in the shade 145. Very lightly setting it with the Airspun powder before I move on to the next step. And right on top of this, I'm going to be using a liquid glitter by Pixi. This is the Fairy Lights, and this was a collab with Miriam. This is a rose gold glitter and has specks of pinks and silver to it, so it's very pretty in person. I'm not sure how much the camera catches, but we'll apply it directly over the concealer. If you especially have sensitive or watery eyes where you apply a powder eyeshadow, it gets into your eyes and bothers you, try using a quick setting, either liquid glitter or a liquid eyeshadow, which sets very quickly. And even if your eyes are watering or sensitive, it's not going to come off. Because this sets so quickly, I'm going to soften the edges with my finger before it dries up. And then I'm going to dip into Live in My Best with a blending brush. I'm going to blend out the edges. And then I'm going to lightly deepen it with Crazy. Then I'm going to deepen it further with the black eyeshadow. Pretty much the same combination that we used at the crease, I'm using it in the outer corner. I'm going to remove the tape and clean up underneath before I move on to the lower lash line. First, I'm going to dip into Crazy and I'm going to smoke it throughout my lower lash line with a small, dense, flat shader brush. And because I left that small gap when I was sticking the tape at the very beginning, you can see that there's continuity from my lower lash line to the top lash line. I'm going to next tightline using a waterproof, smudge-proof eyeliner in black. This one's from Revlon. I've listed all the products information in the description box below. And for